Kalau saya sangkut nanti saya follow kat FB tau, Doktor.
Awak pasal apa putus?
Kalau sangkut-sangkut lah.
Okey. Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okey.
Kalau sangkut-sangkut lah.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okey, sekarang kita dah ada bersama-sama di Facebook. Selamat datang siapa yang dapat masuk. Alhamdulillah hari ini kita ada 3 orang peserta. Iaitu bersama kita seorang fellow daripada Hakim, Puan Zarita, Coach Zarita. Bersama dengan Coach Syaharuddin dan kita punya pakar Dr. Arifin. Ini orang pandai-pandai semua ni. So hari ni kita nak sembang-sembang petang bersama Master Coach dengan tajuk yang berat. Everybody is capable of talking about transformasi diri. Ini hebat. So zaman sekarang ni there are many changes is happening, banyak perubahan yang berlaku. Jadi hari ni kita decide kita nak bincang sesuatu yang rasa boleh consider very relevant juga untuk kita just to keep on moving forward. Dan samping itu juga kita kira keadaan semasa dengan lockdown dan kita punya PKP. Jadi sekurang-kurangnya waktu yang begini kita cuba sikit memberi faedah sesama sendiri, add value lah. Jadi ada sesiapa peserta kita dapat masuk sini, tolong share lah pada sahabat-sahabat kita yang di luar sana yang dapat mungkin mereka pun boleh dapat join later. Jadi sebagai permulaan, semalam kita dah cakap iaitu part 1 dan part 2 iaitu berhubung dengan resilient, kompetensi dan resilient. So bila cakap kompetensi dan resilient, dia tak lari daripada transformasi diri. Because resilient merupakan kekuatan diri. Jadi transformasi menurut kita boleh adapt the situation, mengikut kemampuan dan kebolehan yang ada pada kita, dan setengah pada tu boleh juga kita tambah nilai. Ada teknik-teknik tertentu insya-Allah boleh meningkatkan lagi usaha kita nak jadi lebih transformasi. Jadi transformasi diri. Jadi menurut kata we need to be a leader. Sometimes we can be a coach, but sometimes you have to be a leader. So between these two things there is way where how we can bridge it. InsyaAllah kita tengoklah macam mana kupasan yang akan dilakukan oleh sahabat-sahabat kita sekalian. Jadi buat permulaan Puan Zarita, kalau Puan Zarita punya line clear, Coach Zarita clear, can you say something Puan Zarita? Silakan. Takut line tak clear lagi, so I invite you to give your thought first.
Lagging lah Doktor.
Tapi dengar clear?
Saya dengar tapi dia lagging sikit.
Oh, lagging. Oh, lagging mungkin line tu kot. Okey, siapa dia dengan doktor siapa dulu cakap, silakan.
Okeylah, saya boleh start dulu ya.
Silakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Transformational ataupun transformasi. Transformasi ada satu istilah yang agak canggih dan besar. Kalau kita pergi internet ataupun kita banyak membaca, setiap penulis ataupun author buku mungkin memberi different definisi. Tapi ambil ringkas dan untuk kita senang faham, transformasi ataupun transformation basically pada asasnya adalah maknanya change, penukaran. Tukar kepada sekarang dan kepada sesuatu yang different. Itu maksud transformasi. A change in something. Pokoknya kenapa kita perlu change? Selalunya kita nak buat penukaran kerana kita nak membaikkan keadaan sesuatu ataupun nak improve kita punya growth ataupun kita punya capability ataupun kita punya competency dan kita punya power of resilience. Sama ada daripada peringkat korporat ataupun peringkat diri. Sebelum saya pergi kepada peringkat diri, saya nak touch sedikit mengenai korporat. Selalunya kita berkata 90% of problem in business, sama ada korporat besar ataupun startup, early startup ataupun growth startup adalah system driven dan 6% people driven. Memandangkan 94% itu adalah kerana system driven, kebanyakan syarikat besar memerlukan transformasi sama ada di peringkat apa kita panggil corporate structure ataupun operational structure ataupun leadership change untuk improve dia punya business performance ataupun dia punya return of investment ataupun kita kata ROI lah. Selalunya corporate besar-besar kalau dia buat transformation, dia engage apa kita panggil consultant. Tapi kalau setakat SME yang startup dan juga kepada yang early growth stage, kemungkinan kita tak mampu panggil consultant yang besar-besar like McKinsey. Jadi kita punya change tu, kalau kita lihat, kalau kita kaji, the common denominator from olden days sampailah sekarang is always change. And dari peringkat yang kecil tu kita kena buat perubahan sendiri sebab kita mungkin tak boleh ambil consultant. Jadi the founder ataupun the red dot ataupun the spirit of the company have to make that change themselves. So dia kena buat kajian sendiri, research sendiri dan fikirkan kaedah yang terbaik untuk membuat perubahan supaya bisnes dia boleh growth ataupun boleh sustainable dan juga macam mana nak buat perubahan dengan dia punya pekerja. Selalunya kita buat transformation peringkat korporat, tetapi kita kemungkinan kita lepas pandang yang penting adalah membuat transformational change kepada kita punya people. Sebab no matter how effective we make a change at the corporate level ataupun the system level, kalau kita punya people are not willing to change and adapt to the change that has been made in the organization, the chances of growth is agak sukar. Bukan tak boleh, kita boleh paksa kan, tetapi diorang buat bukan kerana redha tapi kerana terpaksa buat. Jadi makan masa agak lambat. Dan saya rasa sebelum kita buat any change, kita mesti have kita panggil buy-in daripada kita punya people dahulu. Bila kita adakan perubahan atau change itu, mereka rasa selamat ataupun mereka rasa orang kata kalau change sama besar ataupun kecil dalam kita punya organisation, kita masih lagi boleh bekerja dan teruskan aktiviti harian kita sebagai pekerja lah. Okay, so the most difficult is to get the buy-in from the people that actually work with us. Okay. Transformational change kepada diri. Kalau kita cakap pasal change in people, kita mesti ingat satu yang saya difahamkan dan saya belajar, kalau kita nak buat perubahan, kita tak boleh change people. We can never change people actually. People have to actually want to change themselves. So we as the leader, as the manager ataupun supervisor dalam kita punya organisasi, utama sekali kita di peringkat mom and dad punya business ataupun the early startup SME itu, kita mesti carikan titik tolak di mana kita jadi influencer ataupun kita cari the catalyst ataupun the factor that will help kita people want to change. Tetapi teladan yang paling baik baliklah pada diri kita sendiri. Kita sendiri mesti buat perubahan, or we have to be the change that we want to see in our people and in our organisation. Itu saja Dr. setakat ni yang saya boleh.
Terima kasih. So what you say more of your statement encompasses on the area of corporate side, the organizational side. And you did mention a bit, sebenarnya Allah kata dia takkan ubah nasib satu kaum itu, dia akan satu kaum itu ubah nasib dia sendiri, right? So macam mana pula doktor yang berbahagia, Dr. Arifin, right? How is it to you, doktor?
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalam.
The word change has been popular since the last 30-40 years, right? They call it managing change. But recently the word transformation came into fashion. I think the American is fully responsible for this word, transformation. But the British has used change as a common word. But in the corporate sector, there is no formula for the transformation of this change until you do a complete diagnosis of the corporation. For instance, you must know what has been the problem in the past, what has been the performance gaps, what has been the critical success factor of the corporation. Now, unless you go to the rock bottom or the root cause analysis of this corporation, there is no possibility of going for transformation, for a positive change. So for this purpose, you require a depth diagnosis of the whole corporation from right to the bottom of it. And so the root or source, root cause analysis, the root causes of these defects or this negative performance of the corporation. But first of all, before we can know whether the corporation need transformation or otherwise, you have to measure performance. Unfortunately, even performance measurement is weak among managers today. They don't really know where are the areas that need to be improved. What are the areas they are good at? So unless you are having a measurement for your management, there's no way you can transform. So the beginning of any transformation starts with measurement. Now, how many of us really measure our performance? That is the problem. When you look at our GLCs now, all of them faces problem after problem. They never learn from their past mistake. They never care to examine into the past. And this is the problem. The basic problem, they have not been able to measure their own performance, past and future and present. So unless they have mastered this concept of performance measurement, then they can talk about transformation. Otherwise, I think anybody talks about transformation without knowing performance measurement, without knowing measurement on their own performance, there is no basis for that. I would say that they just rhetoric. Without really measure your own performance, you cannot talk about transformation. So transformation is there's a need to measure where you are right now and where is your desired performance. And you must know exactly where you're going. Unless and until you have the measuring tools in corporate sector or your own personal transformation, I think this concept of transformation will not be achieved at all. So it begins with measurement. It begins with your ability to diagnose the problem, and after that you will realize that you have to find out the solution to these problems and issues, and before you can come up with the transformation. And so it requires a surgery of some sort in any organization. And we have in America a lot of people who claim themselves to be expert in transformation. But basically, I would say that all CEOs are transformation managers, right? All CEOs should be trained or should have the concept of understand the concept of transformation. If they don't understand it, I think they fail to be a good CEO. Thank you, Dr. Shakir.
All right. So it seems that Dr. Arifin using more of what I call the quantitative kind of approach. You are looking at facts and figure, right? You look at that point of view. But there are also other factors that we take into consideration other than fact and figures. There is the social emotional of the people that handle the organization, or those organizations being navigated by the CEOs who are capable of handling that. So first, before the company can go to that extent, the person itself must be clear of what is thinking, where and how to go about achieving the direction toward transformation. So of course, after I will go later on the individual approach. The concept being used started with our staff and then begin to with the others. Remember we talked about yesterday when we are talking about self-coaching, all right? When we do self-coach, you self as a coach mean to say you find your way how to overcome it. So when you do that, you already put yourself on the learning path toward what we call transformation. Another way is that you as a leader, right? That means what it means that to develop the best in others. That's how when you come. I'm a leader. If you think yourself as a coach, what you're trying to do is delivering the best in you. That's two things. So the combination of the two things, you yourself as a coach, you yourself a leader, two things can combine together. So from this kind of approach, we look at individuals looking at the transformational also, they have a certain kind of approach. I'm going to share to you here some what call it I cannot share now, maybe later on, how it can be used to help others in the real sense that by doing that, those who are already in our organization can feel the necessity to be transformed. Because anything that is formed can be transformed. If it is not from the form, it cannot be transformed. That's why the common thing is form, second followed by information. From information, it becomes transformed. So transformation means to say, is this a movement from one area to another? If we ourselves, we can be transformed. If we change slightly the meaning of the thing we see now compared to the way we see the meaning 20 years ago, that means you have to be transformed. Means you can see things at this present moment of time. But if we keep on looking the same thing from the previous point of view without taking into consideration the new development in our environment, so it's difficult to follow. I mean, riding with the wave. Yeah, sometimes we can even go riding against the wave. So from that kind of view, Dr. Arifin, what do you think of this approach at this moment of time? Because due to too much automation, now they have, as a result, we have a lot of gig economy. There is a kind of transformation is happening. Gig giving the opportunity, gig economy giving opportunity for the youngsters because they can do 4 work, 5 work within a certain period of time. Kalau dulu kita kerja lifelong daripada satu organisasi sampai pension, but nowadays not necessary. If you look from that point of view now, doctor, what are the benefits that we can do something to derive so that at this moment of time we can create something that is rate of employment can slightly improve. Or kawan-kawannya, everybody become entrepreneur. So entrepreneur got to be transformation also. So how do you look at that approach, doctor?
Yes, your definition of transformation is moving from one area to another. But I would like to add one more adjective to it. It must show improvement. If it does not show any improvement, I think it is not worthwhile to take any action on it. It must show an improvement to either as the human benefit as a whole or probably to you, the initiator of the change. And that's why I stress the importance of measurement here. If you don't measure, you can't really enact or initiate any improvement change. So for improvement to work, it has to be measured. What's before and what's after. So similarly, when you want to run an organization, you have to know exactly where are you now and where you want to go in the future or after the change. So this is important because if if you are doing well, there is no need to change, right? If you are the industry leaders, for instance, and you don't think you can do much better than the others, of course you're already the champion of the industry. There's no need to benchmark yourself against the others. Therefore, if you think that you can not do better than that, there's no necessary for transformation. But only thing is that if you want to, you have a benchmark which is higher than where you are now, and probably you can go reach this level through innovation, through invention of new ideas, new strategy, new models, where you can get a better result from before. Otherwise, there is no need for transformation. That's why I keep on stressing on the word measurement, before and after. But again, there are, as I mentioned many times today, that management can even deceive their performance reports. You know what we call window dressing. This word window dressing has been a game in the corporate world. Most CEO, rather than having so-called a positive change in their results, they deceive the public by reporting performance which is not artificial performance, meaning that it shows that they are performing, but actually in real effect, in true analysis, these performance are all lies, or not really true performance. If we go into detail, this is why it is important for people to actually to learn, especially new managers, young new managers, to learn exactly what are the right way to translate or to measure performance. From the looking at the balance sheet, the profit and loss account, or the or whatever job performance, you must be able to measure this performance. And it is also important to stress that in order to get a macro performance, macro improvement, a total improvement in the corporate world, you must focus also yourself in the micro performance, meaning that the individuals within the organization must perform. So it also means that in order to get a total performance, each and everyone performance must be measured. Each and everyone performance must be measured. But in today's computer world, this is not difficult. Actually, everyone you can measure their performance. Even into the security guard or the reception counter clerk, you able to measure their performance. But and you can do it even online. But it all depends on the CEO, and also the word transformation requires a CEO which is dynamic, which is stress on performance, which also stress on strategy, on proper design, on performance measurement. And if you have these characters, or you have these qualities in a CEO, the future of the corporation will be in good hands. Otherwise, you can see they will end up in becoming a con man, I would say. So it's very important to be able to measure performance, especially those who are in the board of directors. Otherwise, they'll be cheated, or they'll be bluffed by these so-called CEOs. I have noted a lot of companies which are not performing, but they highlight areas which are not really reflecting the true performance, the bottom line performance of the organization. Thank you for now.
Okay, it's very interesting now. So Shahrudin, what can you say added to what you have said earlier with the information being given by Dr. Arifin just now? From different point of view, what will you say now? What else that you have to take into consideration?
Terima kasih doktor. Satu perkara yang menarik yang doktor mention tadi, to measure performance. Yang betul, kalau kita dalam korporat besar, kita selalu measure performance, kita KPI dan semua tu. Tetapi there must always be a reason ataupun objektif why the corporate sector want to have a change. Okay, maybe they want to have a better growth, a better profit margin, and one area of improvement is always looking at ways of making new income ataupun profit. Umpamanya, kalau kita tengok, if you look at business model, okay, every company, big or small, okay, dia mungkin ada beberapa business model yang dipakai. Sama ada dia startup, ataupun dia bergrowth, ataupun dia dah end startup, ataupun dia dah besar punya corporate level. Okay. Selalunya kita tukar kita je business model kerana kita nak more income. So they need to have that kind of change. So this is what we call business transformation kan. Okay. Satu perkara yang menarik kalau kita tengok jika kita in today ataupun in today very competitive punya environment, okay, most companies they nak outflank dia punya competitors. Tetapi kalau kita tengok in term of transformation the company, okay, in today environment, kalau companies nak survive and sustain, collaboration is a better choice. Umpamanya, kalau kita tengok daripada dulu lagi, Pepsi Cola dan juga Coca-Cola, kita ingat mereka ini ada satu kompetitor yang besar. Kalau kita suka Coca-Cola, kita siapa Coca-Cola, kita tak cakap banyak pasal Pepsi Cola. Tetapi kalau kita tengok at the end, at the back, kalau kita betul-betul check, Coca-Cola adalah juga investor kepada Pepsi Cola, dan Pepsi Cola ada juga investor kepada Coca-Cola. Okay. Jadi mereka ni kalau at the back, dia orang tolong menolong. Dia orang bantu-membantu dan satu sama lain, dan dia punya market share dia orang kongsi. Jadi katakanlah kita own Coca-Cola, kita actually in trouble, okay, Pepsi Cola akan datang menolong mereka. Super juga macam Steve Jobs dengan Bill Gates, kan? Satu ketiga dulu Bill Gates are actually in trouble. Steve Jobs was in trouble, tetapi suddenly at the back actually Bill Gates yang tolong Steve Jobs. Jadi mereka ni sebenarnya at the behind dia tolong menolong. Jadi transformation ni berlaku kerana kita nak further improvement. Macam Dr. Arifin kata tadi, itu betul. Kita mesti ada one kind of measurement dan kita mesti ada reason why kita nak akan change tu dan mana ala tuju kita. Itu saya setuju benarlah. Kalau kita berbalik kepada people, apa yang Dr. Arifin cakap tadi banyak mengemukakan mengenai corporate yang besar-besar. Tetapi kalau kita pergi kepada micro, kepada startup, early startup dan juga growth startup, yang penting saya rasa transformation diri oleh people in the organisation itself, dan start kepada dia punya CEO. CEO is the best example to show to dia punya people dan dia boleh change. Salah satu area kalau kita tengok pada saya lah, customer. Okay. Kenapa customer tu, macam mana kita nak retain customer? Cuba kita tengok kepada Liverpool dan juga kepada United Manchester umpamanya. Kalau saya adalah fan kepada Manchester United, saya tidak akan support Liverpool. Saya kenal Liverpool dan saya suka Liverpool, saya jatuh cinta pada Liverpool dan saya become dia punya raving fan. So begitu juga customer kita dengan kita, macam mana caranya kita nak attract customer itu untuk kenal kita ataupun produk kita ataupun services kita at this startup ataupun SME level, okay? Macam mana nak jadikan mereka itu bukan suka kita, bukan kenal kita, dia suka kita dan dia jatuh cinta dengan kita, dan dengan itu dia become kita punya raving fan. Jadi setiap kali kita ada new product, they are actually willing to buy from us. Macam kita kata willing buyer and willing seller lah. Dan mereka ni akan jadi kita punya customer yang setia sampailah bila-bila. So kita mesti transform kepada customer service, because customer service pada saya adalah God given. Bila kita ada business, kita mesti ada customer service. Tetapi customer experience dengan kita tu yang mustahak. Apa maksud kita customer experience tu? Customer experience tu, kita bukan saja kenal customer tu by name, tetapi kita juga mungkin kenal apa nama anjing dia, apa nama kucing dia, apa nama wife dia, apa nama anak-anak dia, dan bila dia punya birthday, bila dia punya anak-anak dan juga dia punya wife punya birthday. Sebab kita ada that kind of bond ataupun engagement dengan mereka. Umpamanya jika mereka punya birthday esok, kita akan hantar kad selamat hari jadi. Jadi mereka akan terasa yang mereka ni penting daripada kita. So pada kita, mereka tu penting. Jadi mereka akan lebih suka pada kita. Itu maksudnya customer experience lah. Dan banyak lagi cara-cara ni.
Okey, saya ingat saya panggil sikit Puan, kita punya Puan Zarita. Can you say something, Puan Zarita?
Ya, boleh, Doktor, insyaAllah.
Ya, please continue. What you want to say? Yes,
InsyaAllah, terima kasih Doktor Cik Syarudin dan juga Dr. Arifin. Saya mungkin nak melihat dari sudut personal development lah Doktor. Kalau kita tengok dari developmental coaching pun, kalau bercakap tentang transformational ni macam Doktor nyatakan tadi lah, kita melihat dari dua sudut, kognitif dan juga social emotional. Dan saya juga tertarik bila Doktor menyentuh tentang surah Ar-Ra'd ayat 11 tu yang berkaitan perubahan Islam. Kita jugalah yang nak merubah dan berubah sesuatu kan. Dan bercakap tentang perubahan ni, ramailah juga yang cakap Stephen Covey pun dan Seven Habits pun, dia kata yang paling penting ialah proaktif untuk berubah kan. Tapi bagi saya dalam Islam juga menyebut setiap hari adalah hari yang makin cemerlang bagi setiap umat Islam kan. Tapi yang paling penting adalah transformasi itu is not the result but the process, how we achieve the transformational. Kalau kita tengok dalam kehidupan kita pun, pada diri kita pun Doktor, the transformational process tu exist sentiasa. Dia sentiasa ada dan kita takkan lari daripada transformasi even usia kita pun Doktor. Sebab even hari-hari usia kita pun akan berubah. Kita pun di dalam proses transformasi dan yang paling penting apa planning ataupun how do we handle the transformation process. Dan juga bagaimana kita menghadapi proses perubahan usia. Contohlah macam saya lah Doktor, bila demam ni baru kata macam alamak baru umur macam ni dah demam macam ni. Macam itulah Doktor. So dia transformational tu dekat diri kita pun kita dah rasa dan kita nak lebar luaskan kepada transformational dalam kehidupan kan. Sebab kalau dalam Islam kecemerlangan tu hari-hari dan nak adakan transformasi tu yang paling penting bagi saya ialah kita tingkatkan standard pemikiran lah Doktor. Sebab everything comes from the bukan everything comes from the mind, tapi bermula bagaimana cara kita berfikir. Sebab transformasi ni bila kita nak tingkatkan diri kita kepada satu tahap baru yang lebih baik lah, bukan tahap baru yang lebih tak baik. Ada juga orang yang transformasi bagi dia berubah dari satu tahap ke satu tahap tapi lebih mahir dalam bidang yang negatif dan sebagainya. Dan bila kita nak buat satu perubahan tu, dia bukan saja melibatkan perubahan fizikal tapi juga perubahan dalaman. Dia bukan kalau kita kata measurement in corporate tu kita kata performance kerja dia meningkat, prestasi meningkat tapi personality diri dia makin teruk pun kita tak nak macam itulah kan. Jadi biar dua-dua balance, physical and emotional level dan juga keseluruhan lah, kerohanian, jiwa dan sebagainya. Sebab standard pemikiran yang tinggi biasanya akan mempengaruhi personality yang cantik, yang tinggi lah. Dan kalau dalam Islam pun nak bercakap tentang measurement untuk ke arah yang lebih baik, kalau kita melihat secara keseluruhannya Doktor, dalam satu tahun tu kita ada 1 bulan khusus untuk mentarbiahkan diri, untuk transform diri kita. Tuhan dah bagi kita macam satu template, 1 tahun kita ni untuk diri kita dan ada 1 bulan khusus yang Tuhan nak tengok how do you perform and the output tu transformational is after that Ramadan. That's why we call it as a tarbiyah month kan. So kalau kita nak transformkan benda tu dalam kita punya daily life, dalam corporate world kita, Dr. Subhanallah, saya rasa banyak sangat yang kita perlu telusuri, sebab transformational ni perubahan yang sangat kerap berlaku. Kita tak kata transformational dalam peran strategik in 3 to 5 years time, in 5 to 10 years time kan, tapi change management macam Cik Syahrudin cakap dan juga Dr. Arifin cakap tadi, dia sangat-sangat orang kata apa, sangat-sangat rapid, cepat kan. Jadinya memang kita terpaksa bersedia dan kita sentiasa be prepared, orang kata how to handle dan juga how to manage lah. Sebab setiap hari kalau boleh kita nak jadi orang yang baru, kita nak jadi orang yang dengan persekitaran yang baru, kita nak jadi guru kepada orang yang baru, kita nak develop new leaders kan setiap hari. Tapi how that change punya evolution ataupun proses dalam transformational tu yang saya ambil balik dalam bulan Ramadan sebagai tarbiyah tu, so that kita nampak dia proses macam mana kita nak planning tu dalam daily life dan juga in kita punya career world lah Doktor, insyaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. So sekarang ni Puan Zarita membawa pertama sekali ialah transformasi patut berlaku pada diri kita dulu sebelum transformasi itu berlaku pada diri orang lain. Alhamdulillah, jadi memang betul lah transformasi itu akan berlaku pada individu apabila berlakunya perubahan daripada skop, sama ada dia punya pasar pemikiran ataupun sama ada daripada level seniority dalam term of dia punya maturity, social emotional maturity. Kalau dulu dia rasa diri dia yang penting, orang lain tak penting, suddenly dia kata orang lain pun penting juga, as important as me. It is also a part of transformation. That's why now certain company, Dr. Arifin, they say human capital punya behavior and taking care of them is equally important as if the company making the money. Mean to say that profit is equally important, that make sure our people also transform, doing very well. If our people is not doing very well, then profit is meaningless. Mean to say they must take care of their people. That's also one way of transformation berlaku daripada sistem pendengaran, pemikiran, perasaan dan sebagainya. Yang kedua, berlakunya perubahan pandangan. Kalau terlalu banyak pandangan kepada benda yang telah berlaku, kita terlupa pula sesuatu yang boleh kita ubah sesuai mengikut keadaan zaman. Sambil menunjuk kata kita hidup mengikut keadaan zaman dan insyaAllah menuju kepada the next generation to come. With regard to that, saya ada soalan yang ditanya di Facebook kita ni oleh Mr. Samsul kita. Jadi saya ingat setengah bedanya Puan Zarita, Coach Zarita dah jawab. Dia tanya, adakah transformasi bersifat masa sekarang atau bersemasa? So saya ingat tadi Zarita pun ada terang sikit. Dan yang kedua, seandainya transformasi itu pernah berlaku pada masa lepas, adakah ia dianggap sebagai konten saja? Macam mana pendapat Puan Zarita? Nanti saya akan masuk sama. Sila Puan Zarita dulu terangkan. Puan Zarita hilang lah.
Kejap Doktor. Sekali lagi Doktor, tak sempat nak buka Facebook.
Tak apa, saya bacakan. Cik Samsul tanya, seandainya transformasi itu pernah berlaku pada masa lepas, adakah dia dianggap sebagai konten sahaja?
Okey. Kalau dalam konteks yang dah berlaku, walaupun betul lah dia konten dan juga konteks, tapi pada masa yang sama experience is our kata best teacher kan, experience is the best teacher. Experience tu akan jadi kita punya kata apa, dia masuk dalam subconscious dan itu juga akan membentuk kita punya frame of reference. Jadi itu semua kita tak kata konteks saja walaupun dia dah berlaku. Tapi yang dah berlaku dia akan campur dengan yang sedang berlaku dan yang akan berlaku, itulah kita sebenarnya. Dan itulah yang kita kena manage dan kita kena handle. Dan bagi saya tiga fasa itu sangat penting. Sebab bila kita bercakap tentang mindful kan Doktor kan, untuk berada in the presence, in the moment, it's not just in the moment kita sekarang yang ada pada ketika ini, tapi at the same time kita juga akan ada pada masa yang kita nak. Masa nak tu tak semestinya kita yang sekarang, yang dulu dan akan datang pun boleh jadi. Kalau sekarang saya nak fikir sesi kita ni Doktor, kita berada bersama dengan sesi coaches di international, dia boleh jadi juga kan Doktor? Kalau saya nak dia berada dalam sesi yang kita pernah lalui sebelum ni, dia boleh juga berlaku. Jadi dia ada banyak dimensi dan juga fasa yang sebenarnya membantu ataupun dia menjadi kita punya frame of reference yang akan membentuk kita punya sudut pandang alam lah Doktor, kita panggil world view tu kan. Sebab dia akan membantu, dia kata apa, kita ambil the bits of the experiences the bits of kita punya exposure, kita punya pengalaman, kita punya imagination. Jadi kesemua inilah yang akan membentukkan diri kita lah doktor, insyaAllah.
Ya. Saya tambah sikit, selalunya kalau konten ataupun konten sebutan atau konteks benda telah berlaku, it is a part of, it's a part of transformation. At certain point, kita panggil there is element of constitutive relationship, yang mana hubungan tu dah wujud. Bila benda tu jadi, dah ada automatic hubungan antara satu dengan lain. Kadang-kadang berlaku dalam berbagai bentuk, sama ada pengalaman yang kita lalui menyebab kita berlakunya perubahan yang positif. Dan ikut soalan yang ditanya tadi, ini apa yang saya akan jawab sekarang ni. Sekarang saya kiranya seseorang itu membayangkan transformasi yang bakal berlaku masa hadapan, adakah ia seperti espousal semasa? Okey, konsep of espousal tu banyak kita nak cerita level dia punya konsep. Tapi based on that, espousal is one of the element for you to move forward. Misalnya, kalau you kawan dengan orang alim ataupun you kawan orang jual perfume, walaupun you tak jual perfume tapi bau perfume tu ada juga. Itu. Kalau yes, there is a kind of espousal juga. Maksud kata kita bercita-cita menuju ke konsep itu. Kadang-kadang espousal tu berlaku dahulu sebelum jadi actual transformation. Jadi sebab tu kita kata kita niat baik. Maka kita jadi baik. Kita kena fikir orang tu baik selalu, maka kita nampak niat yang baik. Menunjuk kata what inside reflect outside. So jawapan yang saya bagi ni as simple as possible. Kita tak mau bagi terlampau teknikal sangat sebab transformasi diri ni berubah. Kalau nak fikir tuan-tuan, bukannya necessary dia ikut education, bukannya necessary kita ikut umur. Tidak, sebab tak necessary-nya. Kadang-kadang kalau orang tu education tinggi pun tak berlaku transformasi. The real meaning of transformation. So benda yang Cik Samsul tanya tu boleh diterangkan lagi dengan jelas. Tetapi kalau kita ada buat coaching orang, sometimes berlaku transformasi orang tu. But it does not one day, it take 3 years or 3 years. And those we coach maybe last few years already transformed, no more as the way they are now. The way they speak also change. Sebab the way you speak reflect who you are. Rupanya transformasi berlaku bila kita jumpa seseorang tu, kita kata dia ni dulu tak macam ni lah, dia berubah. Dia satu tim, mungkin kita dah berubah. Mungkin kau tu tak berubah. Satu. Lagi satu, mungkin dia tu memang berubah. Itu we have to find out. Sama ada tu qualitative interview ataupun developmental interview, baru kita boleh detect benda yang kita sebut ni dalam konsep transformasi diri. Jadi kita dah cover ni 40 minit kan doktor? 40 or 45 minit. Anything you want to add on Zadita sebelum kita invite kedua lagi panel kita say something, please?
Tak apa. Saya izinkan Cik Syarudin dan juga Dr. Arifin dulu.
Anything Cik Syarudin, please?
Kita pergi kepada transformation diri. Kalau kita berbalik kepada kompetensi dengan resilient, okay, selalunya kita nakkan transformasi sebab kita nak long term resilience. Sebab dengan transformasi selalunya kita dah expect kita ada better growth dan juga better profit margin return. Okay. Tapi bila kita cakap pasal kompetensi, kompetensi ni actually is a subset of capability ataupun kita panggil corporate capability seperti structure, system and process, network, itu semua kita panggil corporate capability. Okay. Tetapi kompetensi, kalau kita cakap pasal kompetensi ni adalah kalau kita tengok is a subset of skills, knowledge dan juga attitude. Jadi saya nak touch mengenai attitude. Kita boleh cakap panjang lebar mengenai transformation corporate dan juga transformation diri. Tetapi what actually driven transformation ataupun transformasi? Apa yang titik tolaknya, apa yang boleh menjadikan transformation itu a success atau a failure? Kalau kita tengok kepada individu, kita tengok kepada dia punya attitude. What is attitude? Attitude adalah cara kita, how we look at the world around us. Cara kita berfikir, kita punya mindset ataupun mindset yang Puan Jarita cakap tadi kan. So that one is actually attitude. I can employ somebody who have better talent than me, smarter than me, clever than me. That is better, because if somebody is better than me, clever than me, hopefully they can do a better job in management than me. Sebab kalau kita tengok pun ramai juga business people ni tak pandai pun. Tetapi mereka tu kaya raya. Mereka pandai buat cari duit, tetapi in term of management company mereka kurang. Jadi eloklah kita employ orang yang lebih pandai daripada kita untuk run kita punya company. Kita jadi the red dot outside the picture. Enjoy the wealth. Balik pada attitude. Attitude is mustahak, kerana kalau orang tu ada positive attitude ataupun good attitude, walaupun dia mungkin tak talented pada mulanya, tetapi I can actually train them, lead them, teach them, ataupun coach them, mentor them to have the skills and the talents that they need to do a certain job. Sama ada is a soft skills ataupun is a hard skills, sama ada informal ataupun tak formal. Jadi kalau kita tengok di sini, pada saya pokok pangkalnya attitude kita punya people in the organisation is key. Sama ada bila kita buat transformation itu berjaya atau tidak. Dan kalau kita tengok pada personal attitude, satu perkara yang saya observe for quite some time, failure ataupun berjaya seseorang itu ataupun company itu terpulang kepada kemungkinan besar kepada ego ataupun pride dia punya leaders. Kalau leaders tu have the needs to be right all the time, daripada dia punya staff, itu pun masalah juga. Sebab kalau dia saja betul, orang lain salah, dia saja bagus, orang lain tak bagus, nak dapatkan buy-in ataupun cooperation daripada orang lain, itu agak sukarlah. Okay. Dia ada satu sentence ni yang saya suka. I would prefer to be wrong and be rich rather than be right and be poor. So itu pun besar. Saya sanggup lagi mengatakan saya salah, tetapi akhirnya saya dapat capai saya punya cita-cita melalui improvement bila saya dapat mengaku yang saya ni salah, dan saya dapat membetulkan diri saya dan should be a good example, dan saya transformkan diri saya sedemikian rupa saya menjadi contoh kepada orang lain, supaya mereka pun boleh transform diri mereka menjadi yang seorang yang lebih baik daripada sekarang. Yang mustahil kita nak dapatkan orang ataupun diri kita mengatakan kita ni lebih baik daripada yang semalam. Setakat itu saya dapat katakan. Doktor, back to you.
Terima kasih. So I would like to share with you, based on this human resource pyramid from a developmental perspective. Say the bigger one, as you said earlier, you see competencies are grounded in capability, filtered through capacity. Capability is at the bottom there. That is the one that dictates the whole thing. There are two components there. There is one, we call it cognitive development and social emotional development. As Shahrudin said just now, I would prefer, I admit my mistake, mean to say, the way he makes meaning, the right and wrong, on this stage, that he's able to say something, he take some sort of element of self-authoring capability. So, dia dah berlaku perubahan konsep pemikiran dia, dan juga ED, cognitive, accept entities according to the context and the contextual situation that he is now. Apabila perubahan berlaku daripada capability, bawah tu tadi, maka dia melalui capacity. Capacity, where are you now? Where are you presently now? Subjective needs. Oh, at this moment, now I work in this area. I need to do something that can really maintain or really reflect my work and I can perform it. So he's moving now, and at last he goes straight to competencies that will apply capability. That is the skill. That is the present skill that he has now. So the element that Shahrudin said just now is reflected in this diagram. This what I call it, competencies are used as function of capability. So menunjuk kata capability, if we coach somebody, if he change slightly the way he give meaning, or he see things differently. Previously he used to see only contextual, yang terlepas saja. Now he's beginning to see process, something new thing is coming in. And he can see there is a relationship between process and the context. And there is a relationship between himself and the boss and the community he inside there. So given that capacity, the person already change the way he do things and dia punya competency also berubah. So all this capacity is depend also on the challenge and the strength. Kalau kita dalam COVID-19 ni, keadaan macam ni, kita follow a new norms. Kalau kita sedia dengan seadanya, kita faham the situation, we don't feel so much orang tertekan dan sebagainya. Kita tend to be more relaxing. Kalau kita punya social emotional is not high level, enough levelnya tu tak sampai ketika kita rasa terkongkong dan tertekan dan kita kesan, menyebabkan kita tak fully follow according to the environment that we living now. So menunjuk kata Sazuddin, transformation start from the self. The way you give meaning, the way you change something is moving to transformation. The way you begin to see different things, compare differently. That means you are using different filter, different frames. You tend to see differently. So macam you angkat satu bell jar di kepala you, kalau dulu tak nampak lautan, sekarang you nampak. Ataupun sekarang dulu kita duduk tingkat 3, sekarang kita naik tingkat 10. Oh ya Allah, ujung sana ada bukit, dulu kita tak nampak. Because we have this blind spot. So this simple diagram I show a bit of a study has been done, all right, over 40 years. This is from Robert Keegan and Otto Lasky. So this is in relation to what being said by Cik Shahrudin tadi. So based on this, anything else, anybody want to say anything? I welcome. Sila. Yes, Jarita kan? Dr. Arifin, anything? Before we close, it's nearly 3:40 now. Anything?
Yeah, yes. I would like to support your statement on the fact that human resources are the most important assets a company has or a country has. I do agree with that, because if you were to change for the better, or if you want to change to a desired performance target, there are only two changes expected of you. One is strategic change and model change, or technological change. But the other aspect is a lot on the competency change. The people must be more competent than before. There are only two changes that. But you notice that when it comes to competency, I prefer to use the word competency gaps, as to understand the needs to fill up these competency gaps. Now, this is basically how do you arrive at competency gap? Is through benchmarking actually. So if you look at people who are successful, for instance, Singapore is the top 6 economies of the world. Why don't we look at Singapore as the benchmark in order to arrive at the gaps that Malaysia is facing? Now, if Singapore is experiencing 2 steps ahead than us, what are the 2 steps that need to be changed, need to be learned in order for Malaysia to be at the same speed, at the same development rate as Singapore? So we look at the gaps which is more practical as it is now. Secondly, if you look at the need for strategic change or model change or approach change, you still need people to invent or to introduce or to implement this. So both sides of the change, you still require human resources. And so I do believe that the human resources are still the most important asset a company has or a country has. And it is important for us to conduct whatever change we need to do. But I would like to highlight one more aspect. If we talk about attitude alone, it may not be, it is important, but more important when it comes to a macro level, we are talking about culture, because culture changes people as well. That's why in a community you find the Japanese grows rapidly, the South Korean are doing much better than Malaysia now. So why they are performing that well? Because they have a change in culture. Their working culture has changed. The way they think are changing, you know. And as a result of which, Korea is leading, I think, by probably 5 or 6 times better than Malaysia. But as long as we don't realize this, that we are far behind countries like Korea. One time we used to beat them even in football, right? As it is, they are very much advanced. Even we also adopt their telephones in Malaysia. Very unfortunately, that we are far behind that. So through gap analysis, I think you can address this challenge of transformation. Unless you are not. That's why I said I keep on stressing that you have to measure your performance. Without measuring performance, it's difficult to have an effective transformation. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we end, Zarita, is there you want to say anything before we close the session?
Daripada saya tak ada apa, Doktor. Cuma kalau dalam konteks coaching kan, kita nak bercakap again pasal transformasi diri ni dengan kita sendirilah, bukan saja kepada coachee dan juga kita sebagai coach juga. Kita ni diberi nikmat akal kan, Doktor kan? Tapi akal itulah tak ada akal yang sama lah. Semua orang berbeza-beza. Dan akal itulah yang membezakan kita antara satu sama lain, dan akal ini jugalah sebenarnya yang menjadi kita punya penunjuk arah, dan juga dengan akal yang disertakan dengan jiwa, ilmu yang diikat di akal tu, yang untuk menyempurnakan kita lah, Doktor, dalam nak menunaikan tanggungjawab kita sebagai khalifah ni kan. Sebab bukan senang lah kita nak bercakap, nak supaya kita umat Islam kan. Banyak hubungan yang kita kena jaga dalam transformasi, bukan saja hubungan kita dengan manusia tapi kita juga dengan pencipta. Sebab melihat kepada kompetensi setiap manusia tu memang akan berbeza sebab daripada akal yang berbeza kan. Dan nak membezakan satu insan dengan satu insan yang lain tu pun saya rasa apa yang membezakan setiap insan tu akal. Tapi in terms of terbalik kepada measurement dan sebagainya, dia antara ilmu dan takwa lah, Doktor. Sebab kalau nak cakap tentang ilmu pun dia besar juga, nak cakap tentang takwa lagilah besar kan. Jadi kata summarize lah dalam konteks personal yang saya sentuh di awal tadi tu, bercakap tentang transformasi ni, saya kira yang paling sukar ialah transformasi untuk diri sendiri lah, Doktor. Kita sebagai coach dan juga bagaimana kita nak lead the coachee kan untuk transformasi ataupun kita membimbing dan sebagainya. Sebab apa-apa yang kita nak buat sebenarnya, dan sebagai khalifah ni kita nak kena balance. Nak kena balance, kita nak di dunia pun ya, di akhirat pun ya. Sebab Islam tu is very unik sebab dia bawa kita cerita pasal transformasi, bukan sekadar transformasi sekadar di dunia sahaja. Transformasi kita yang kita nak tu the ultimate tu sampai ke akhirat, yang the future yang kita tak terbayang. So that's kind of transformational yang bukan di peringkat zahir sajalah orang kata kan. So ke situ punya Islam bawa kita punya transformasi, bukan dekat-dekat punya transformational tapi to the very far yang kita boleh fikirlah ke alam akhirat sana kan. Jadinya dekat situ yang saya rasa the most challenging part is challenge dengan diri sendirilah, Doktor, nak bermujahadah dalam konteks nak bertransformasi tu, Doktor. Nak melawan nafsu sendiri dan mujahadah tu lah. Itu bagi saya lah, Doktor, insyaAllah. Panjanglah aku nak cerita, Doktor, insyaAllah.
Okay, terima kasih. So kita dah come to the end. Last word from you, Syarudin.
Yeah, I got two things that I would like to add. Dua perkara yang saya nak utarakan. Yang pertama, saya quite agreeable kepada apa yang diutarakan daripada Dr. Arifin tadi. Dr. Arifin menyentuh mengenai gap, competency gap yang betul. Sebab kalau kita nak buat apa-apa transformasi pun, kalau kita tak cari apakah kita punya gap, saya rasa susah nak address sebenarnya apa yang kita nak. So we have to find a gap in the competency in our people first, and then we can set an objective what actually we want to change or what we want to see change in our people. Itu saya setuju. Dan yang kedua, Dr. Arifin ada mention tadi pasal company culture. I think kita did mention a little bit yesterday about company culture. Memang betul, company culture ni memang mustahak, sebab company culture ni boleh as a catalyst ataupun as a driver to actually to bring kita punya organisation to the next level. It prepares us to go to the next level, and then even that culture may change when we actually move into that level, because things have changed, so the culture also may need to be adjusted a little bit. Tetapi apa yang what is interesting about this is this. Before people can actually accept the culture ataupun accept the change that they need to do in themselves, the self-awareness of the need to change ataupun the self-awareness that I need to be adaptive. I need to have that kind of mindset. When there is actually a change, I need to adapt. I need to be flexible. I need to be acceptance and have that positive mind that change is good. It's good. It's meant for the better, not only for the people but also for the corporate. Okay, last but not least, I want to highlight a little bit one factor yang I rasa penting untuk kejayaan to be successful in doing any kind of transformation. The very important person or the key person is the leaders at all level in the organization. Kalau dia besar, kalau dia kecil, of course the founders and the co-founders lah, and the red dot, and the CEOs and the companies. So as I mentioned yesterday kan, kalau kita tengok the capability of the leaders, it need to be visionary. So we need a visionary leaders, we need a strategic leaders, we need a tactical leaders. Because as we go to the micro, then we need tacticals and the operational leaders. And all these 4 level of leaders that I mentioned, we need at different levels of the organization. May it be at the corporate level, maksudnya the main company and the subsidiaries, ataupun in the individual company itself, or in the division, ataupun dia punya department, ataupun dia punya unit dan sub-unit. In all these unit, we must instill and build all these kind of leaders so that the company can be run effectively and also efficiently. I think that is my take for today, and pass it back to you, Dr.
Okay. Terima kasih banyaknya. I would like to say thank you very much to our brother, Dr. Arifin, for his very thoughtful approach, the way he presented the whole thing. This is very strategic kind of thinking, because when you do gap analysis, it's one of the way toward strategic corporate planning, and what we are doing now. This is part of parcel that we live here. We cannot run away from the reality. And number 2, as you explained just now, Shahrudin, all these organizations, they need corporate culture. So I remember I read the book in 1980s, I think 80 something, Corporate Culture, well known, together with Insert Excellence. So I think it was written by Kinai Omache, right? Something like that. And then also terima kasih kepada Puan Zarita, walaupun dengar suara tak nampak wajah, terima kasih for your contribution and your thoughtful approach to give some injection for us to think over whatever aspect that we are missing. So secara tak langsung semuanya kita have done whatever we can lah. Jadi saya ucapkan terima kasih juga kepada sahabat-sahabat kita yang masuk di sini. Ramai lah, saya ingat tak tahu lah ramai pun tak ramai. Tapi Alhamdulillah, terima kasih for having the time just to listen the way we discuss. Hoping that kita create something positively, toward change. Semua part moving to transformation. At least kurang-kurangnya there's element of transformational diri. We are moving toward that. Saya ucapkan ribuan terima kasih. Mohon maaf silap cakap, laju cakap dan sebagainya. Itu semua kelemahan kami. Hanya kebenaran daripada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Okay, kita jumpa lagi besok around 12:30 or 12 o'clock. Siapa yang minat or you have any ideas, any topic, you are welcome. So terima kasih tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Kita jumpa lagi besok. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.